Going down that lane of topic, it's because I've heard repeatedly, and maybe it's just because I repeated. I don't know. I can't remember where I heard it first. Maybe I coined it, which was blockchain technology is going to be more impactful on the planet and on humanity than, say, the internet was. And if you remember how the internet just completely revolutionized everything, and they said the internet revolution was more impactful than the computer age. The computer age was more impactful than the industrial age, and and so on. The Stone Age, it goes. So to hear or to repeat that the blockchain technology has the possibility of being even more impactful than that, it's almost like trying to contemplate infinity. It's impossible. It's impossible to realize what that actually means. And going down that thought process of, okay, eventually blockchain will have this huge impact on humanity, but right now we're dealing with infighting, we're dealing with scams, we're dealing with false narratives, we're dealing with people that want to do good and people just want to make a buck. So where do you see the path to this revolutionary technology actually helping?
Oh, that's a tough question. I see it when we start looking at areas where we can adopt things that are familiar, that aren't too far out there, so it doesn't scare people, right? And that it is outside of a pure financial purpose. And that might sound crazy because crypto's about money, and Bitcoin's about money, but if we remove some of these projects and just look at them from a pure standpoint of creating more good versus bad, then I think without any financial gain attached to it. So, for example, you take like a nonprofit DAO, or like I'm working on a project right now that I'm very passionate about, and I hope we'll see it through to the end. But basically, what it is it's to acquire enough money or crypto, and turn over the funds to a land trust, and people are like, land trust? Well, basically, that land trust would purchase land around one of the largest gold finds in the world. So there is a mine called the Pebble Mine, and there is a company called Northern Dynasty Mining, and they want to develop the largest open pit gold mine in North America, but it sits on top of the largest ecological salmon breeding ground in the world. Over 50%, just a little bit over 50% of your red salmon actually come from this part of the world. They would share. The mine says that they had to use the water, they would have to use the land, and they're saying they can keep everything clean. Well, gold, I'm not willing to risk that. Gold mining in general is not very ecologically sound. And it never is represented or results in how it's represented. So I guess this is a long way of saying is that people are very familiar with donating to causes. They're very familiar with donating to nonprofits. If they were to give a donation, they're not expecting anything in return. They're not expecting the money to come back to them. They're not expecting a 50 to 100% gain. And so because that money's already spent in their mind on a cause, because of that, we can introduce tools of Web3, we can introduce tools of crypto, of blockchain, without creating this fear of losing money, without creating this fear of being scammed. And what do I mean by that? Our organization, what we want to do is we want to raise the funds, turn over the money to land trust. The land trust buys the land around the gold mine. If they buy it, the gold mine actually cannot get any heavy machinery onto the land. The land that's being sold to the land trust, not being sold to me, I'm going to be clear, it's being sold to a nonprofit organization called the Conservation Fund. Once it is sold to the Conservation Fund, it is going to be held in trust, and the production of any sort of mining would actually have to stop. Now, what does that do? One, it's a private real estate deal between the Pedro Bay Native Corporation in Alaska and the Conservation Trust. The unique thing about that is, one, it's a private deal. Two, everyone thought that the government could get it done. Everyone thought that big companies could get it done. Everyone thought that to stop this mine, everyone was looking at all the traditional avenues. Well, traditional avenues, there's a shortfall now. They need several $1 million to meet the gap. And so what we're trying to do with crypto is we're trying to, one, I'm passionate about it because I grew up in Alaska, is to meet this gap. Two, we're using it as a tool to kind of introduce people who never even thought about Web3 and crypto before to use these tools in order to donate. And three, it's going to be a very transparent process. And if we're successful, it's going to be stopping one of the largest mine developments in the entire world. It's a very, very cool way to do it. But what I will say about it is that you need to look at things like that, say, how is crypto going to benefit it? One, and I know I'm going on and on, but to finish up, the reason why crypto fits this narrative is because it takes the cause from being just local to global, right? Because people from all over the world can donate. Two, we've only been working on this for a couple weeks. You can be up and running in like a week if you wanted to, if you found something that you're passionate about or a cause that you're super passionate about. I mean, if you're up and running within a week or 2 weeks or whatever, that's incredible because you're avoiding like having to go the traditional route that would take forever to do, like getting your licensing and then getting a bank account in that licensing, like all those traditional things. So and it's very inexpensive. So a very average person can do something and do something that they love and be passionate about it. And then from the donor side for mass adoption, it's familiar. Like people do Kickstarter campaigns all the time. People do GoFundMes all the time with fiat, right, or credit cards. People give, and that money is already gone to them, and it's just out for the greater good.